The ABLLS-R is a beacon of insight when assessing students or learners with autism or IDD. Founder of the ABLLS-R, Dr. James Partington, shares with us how the ABLLS-R came to be and how it helps unlock potential of those being assessed.
Back in 1991, I started a school called STAR School, which stood for Strategic Teaching and Reinforcement Systems, where I set up verbal behavior model classrooms for children with autism or other developmental disabilities. And at the time, all of a sudden you get all these children coming to you, you're working with them. I'd been teaching language skills and other important learner skills to students for many years. But now all of a sudden, I had a number of students and we needed a curriculum to kind of follow. And so part of that then involved taking a look at what was out there. And quite frankly, what was out there in the general public was not very helpful at all in terms of trying to determine what to teach a particular child at any one moment in time. So what happened was, at that point in time, I actually had two children that were under the age of 5 years. And I was watching them develop and seeing all the skills that they were exhibiting at a very early age that many of the kids in my school were having difficulty trying to acquire. And so I had just seen the research that came out from ABLLS-R about children who were basically provided with early intensive behavioral intervention being able to make it to regular education by the time they were about 6 years of age. And one of my thoughts was, when you start looking at these children, the children who go to kindergarten at age of 5, that is the neurotypical developing child, they are little geniuses. They've got so many skills that they can use. They understand what you're saying to them. They can ask questions. They can talk about their experiences. They watch you like a hawk. They can imitate both vocally and motorically many of the things you're doing. And so therefore, I started taking a look at, okay, if we want to get these children at some point in time to be able to go to a regular kindergarten as a regular kindergarten student, what would those skills be that they would need? So what I started doing was writing down every skill that I saw my kids had and other typically developing kids had at an early age up to about 5. And I also took a look at the skills that were deficient in the kids that I was working with in my school. And as I started writing down all these skills, it became apparent to me that you could take a look not only at different repertoires like imitation repertoire, commanding repertoire, or requesting, as I call it, and plain everyday language. And you start to look at these repertoires, you look at the skills within them, and then you can start to break it down into, well, how much of that skill do they have? And so this concept kind of grew, and over the course of several years, working with consultants, both within my agency and teachers and parents outside of the agency, I found that I was able to put together a nice list of skills within different repertoires that easily assessed children's skills, and I put them in order from simpler to more complex. So we could take a look at what skills a child had at the early developmental stages, and then take a look at them as they progress throughout their development. And so what I did was I put together this list, and it ended up becoming the ABLLS, the Assessment of Basic Language and Learning Skills. And it was a comprehensive assessment, because what I wanted to do was have an assessment that not only looked at basic language and learning skills, but also wanted to take a look at academic skills, self-help skills, and motor skills. Because when you're looking at a child's development, you really want to have a comprehensive view of all the different areas that are important to their development. And the other part that I think was important was I wanted to create a system that allowed parents and teachers and consultants to work together, to be able to collaborate and understand why certain programming decisions were being made and why certain skills were being taught now and others were being held off till later. And so when I wrote the ABLLS, I wrote it in a way that was in everyday language. Again, not in technical terms of behavior analysis and verbal behavior. You know, we as professionals need to have our own language, but when it comes to getting these skills out to others, you want to get it out to them in a way that makes sense to them so that they don't have to learn our terminology to be able to understand what we're doing and why we're doing. and why we're doing it. And so once again, the concept was, can you identify the skills that a typical 5-year-old child would have in their repertoire before going to kindergarten? And if we can reach that level for these young children that we're working with through our early intervention, then we're providing them with the skills, hopefully, to be able to go on and learn like every other child in a regular education environment. So that's where it started. And then over the years, I started getting some feedback, some data from clients and from other professionals. And it turned out that the early version, the ABLLS, actually was very effective in helping many children. However, there was something that I found out, and that was I started getting data on some typically developing children. And lo and behold, many of the skills on the original ABLLS were mastered by many of the kids by the time they were 3 to 4 years of age. And so I set about trying to improve the ABLLS and came up with the revised version, the ABLLS-R, which included a wider range of many skills. There was a major increase in the number of skills, for instance, in the imitation skills, as well as the vocal imitation skills, and some very nice refinements to some of the tasks, both within the labeling repertoire, or as we would call it, tacting in technical terms, and the intraverbal repertoire. And so I built in those changes, and it became much, much more comprehensive. And it turns out that it was actually able to pick up on many other skills that the original version didn't quite capture, making it a much more useful tool for actually trying to get these children ready to be able to learn from their everyday interactions with others.
Want to learn more about digital assessments with CR Assessments? Contact us at sales@centralreach.com.